Don't let your feelings make the moves. You have to actually look at them like you were looking at a chessboard. Because every single step that you take will affect you in a certain way. How you respond to your feelings and how you respond to the way that you feel is just as important as feeling the actual feeling. So it makes me sad that I have to sacrifice in this lifetime, but that's not the only thing that this life has to offer me.
What's going on, everybody? It is Rashawn, of course, your lovely, beautiful host of the Motivate Grind Succeed podcast. Haha, I'm just joking. But no, you'll see this episode is a lot longer and the intro is definitely a lot different this time. And that is because we have our first guest on the show. This is like the after part. This is after. This intro is actually being done after the recording was taking place, just to give you a little bit of precursor. You see the title, we're talking about depression, anxiety, and what we can do to release their grip on us and how they actually affect us and our goals. Because the episode was so long, like it was almost 2 hours long, but because it's so long, we're going to separate it into two parts. This week rather, is going to be part one, and then next week, Sunday at 10 a.m., you get the second half of the episode, which will be the same title, but just part two. So without further ado, I know y'all want to jump straight into it. Let's get straight into this week's episode, Depression and Anxiety, featuring Bryce Denny, part one. Welcome everybody to the Motivate, Grind, Succeed podcast, where my goal is to give you practical, usable tips and takeaways that you can use to maximize your productivity, improve your faith, push yourself to that next level, and live up to 101% of your potential. I'm not here to waste your time with long intros, unnecessarily long uploads, and spammy advice, because that does good for absolutely no one. I get straight to the point so you can get the maximum value out of every episode. And now with this, let's get you straight into this week's episode. What's going on, guys? This time we are having a slight detour. Let's call this a detour from our regularly scheduled programs. We have, drumroll please, our very first guest appearance on the podcast, which is none other than my good friend Bryce Denny, aka Page One, the legendary up-and-coming rapper. Check him out everywhere online. You already know. But no, but for real though, I absolutely love this guy. We've been through a lot together. You know, we grew up. Well, I wouldn't say as from since children, but I've known him for how many years have I known you, man? Like it's been a while.
Dude, you've known me for over like a decade. Honestly,
basically at this point,
you like my brother.
Honestly, man, we're basically like bro. You know, I mean, off podcast, we were like really, really good friends. So I decided, you know, why not bring him on, you know, pick his brain a little bit and, you know, just kind of figure out, you know, kind of what he is. And hopefully, you know, we can really bring some value to you all in this episode. As you all can see, my boy
Sean always got some stuff, good energy, always got something that to think about throughout your week, you know, and if I could say something, don't mean to step on your toes.
No, that's good.
This podcast has been a blessing to me in my life. When I've been struggling to actually find, you know, ways through this matrix called life, I really appreciate that you take the time to reach people who are looking for the wisdom. And, you know, I don't know, man. Like, I'd be lost at words just thinking about it. There's people out there who actually care and want to see growth in others in a world full of people that just want to be for themselves. So, you know, I'm honored to be here. I'm honored to speak, to share my ideals, and, you know, let's go. Let's do this.
Alrighty. I appreciate the little mini shout out there. You know, I really, really do appreciate it, you know, because it is this podcast is really, really fun for me. I know, you know, at this point in time, I don't get a ton of listeners, but, you know, whoever is out there listening right now, I do see the analytics. I do very, very much appreciate you. we're going to take this podcast up, okay? Like, we are really going to do a lot with this podcast. That's the plan. We're going to take this thing and we're going to scale it, and I want to impact as many people with this as possible, okay? Now, remember, as I talk in this podcast, I'm not a professional. I'm not a medical professional. Don't come to me for no medical advice saying, like, oh, I think I'm suffering through this, that, and the other. What medicine can you get? Go to a doctor, please, okay? Just don't come to me. I'm not for that. I am just to help you try to have a mindset shift so that whatever you do, whatever you see yourself as being successful, whether that be a professional writer, maybe a basketball player, you may be a professional swimmer, or if you want to run a business, whatever that is, I'm here to help you with that mindset shift to be able to help you achieve your best life. So with that, we're going to get started with this week's episode. And as you all saw by the title already, this is going to be involving depression and anxiety, how they affect us in our goals, and how we can spot people who are depressed, properly approach them, and try to maybe take some actionable steps that we can use to try to coach them through it. So, without further ado, let's get this episode started. So, Mr. Bryce Denny, why don't you tell everyone a little bit about yourself so we can, get the ball rolling a little bit.
Okay, well, real quick, my name is Bryce Denny. I'm 25 years old. This past couple years, I've been working at a chemical plant where we produce antibiotics for animals. I'm a communications major. Got 13 more credits left in my degree. I should tell you about my family. My dad, he is a minister and a preacher. He has a church in Homewood, Illinois, and he's always, pushing for people to actually get closer to God and better themselves in their lives. And that's something that I've always, when I was younger, I used to just push to the side, like, so what, who cares? Or, growing up, I was a very who cares type of person. I was adopted by 2 missionaries, and I never really knew my birth family. And growing up, it was kind of hard for me to appreciate the things that were in front of me because I didn't understand them. I was too busy being mad and angry at the world and being angry at my circumstances to not see the blessings that were in front of my eyes. In a way, I'm actually happy for that angry little kid because it showed me that there's another way, there's another side to this game called life. I have an older brother. His name's Montreal. He's very smart, and I always aspired to be smart like him. So I always push myself to do a lot of stuff. Like my music, honestly, everything that I'm good at, I wouldn't be good at if it wasn't for God, if it wasn't for my brother, if it wasn't for my mom, my dad. My dad used to make me and my brother write stories every time we came home from school. So, we had homework and then we had homework. And we would just pick up a pencil, pick up a piece of paper, and whatever story or whatever the topic was, he said, go write about it. And honestly, I feel like that's what made me a little better with my music and my lyricism and my vocabulary. If it wasn't for my dad, I don't think I would be as good of an artist if I just tried it alone. Also, my mom, she's a missionary. Currently, she's working at a school for autistic children, and I really appreciate the type of heart that she has. My parents are the type of people who don't mind helping people better themselves. They're the type of people who will get their hands dirty just so you can come out clean. And, that's something that I really appreciate.
Man, that was good, man. That was really good. I'm pretty sure a lot of people listening on right now can probably relate to at least 1, 2, 3. I don't know how many, but they could definitely relate to your story. Like that was a lot. Like some of those things I'm actually hearing because I haven't heard them in a while. Like for example, I didn't know you moved on to a chemical plant factory. You didn't tell your bro that.
I'm sorry,
You know what I
man.
mean?
I've been on the move. And that's another thing that, since depression is the topic, that's another thing that gets me a little sad when life moves so fast, and I it affects us in different ways. I tackle my depression normally with work, because when I distract myself, I'm not thinking about the thing that makes me sad. Normally, I'm thinking about what's the goal, what's the task at hand, and consistently moving, consistently pushing. It's tedious, I will say. I'm not now. Don't go home and say Bryce said be lazy. Forget work. I'm not saying that, but I am saying that some of my depression stems from the solution to my depression, because I'm all this hard work, trying to stay focused on one thing so that I can avoid the thoughts of another thing. But then I end up feeling sad anyway, because it takes away from a piece of me. You know how they say when you grow up, you have money and energy, but you don't have time. And then when you're a kid, you have all this energy, but you have no money, but you still have all this time. It's the same way in life. When life moves fast, there are going to be sacrifices, and that's cool. But in a lot of times in my life, I hit a wall, with all these sacrifices. As much stuff that I was accomplishing, I was looking at all the things that I lacked, and all the things that I was failing at during my accomplishments. Like, oh yeah, okay, finally paid my student loans off, finally got a house, finally got a car. But I was failing in so many other areas, and it took me to a place like where I was just disappointed in myself. I was full of doubts, full of these voices in my head telling me all these things that were negative. But to my ears and to my brain, they sounded like facts. Like, no, yeah, you're not talking to your friends. You are spending less time engaging with people outside. You know? And I had to sit back and think like, is all this hard work for nothing? Because, I want to be successful in life, so I can survive and take care of my family, take care of my parents when they get old and they need the help, just like they took care of me. So, I look at all my accomplishments and I look at all my failures similarly sometimes, because at the end of the day, I'm like, what's the difference? I'm sacrificing consistently. But, I think that's the point. There is nothing in this world that's free. There's nothing in this world that didn't cost something. Everything and this is for the listeners too, everything you guys know, you had to learn from someone else. You didn't learn it by yourself. And that's from speaking a language to walking to tying your shoe. Somebody taught you. So in life, I had to learn how to accept the sacrifices that come instead of just dwelling on them. Because a lot of times, the things that build our depression and our anxiety and stress us out is the fact that we think about them all day. It's like we're torturing ourselves mentally, telling ourselves things that might be true factually, but it's all about how you look at things. And sometimes our perception can affect our reality. The glass half full, half empty concept can be used in all categories. It's just about how you look at things.
Yeah, I fully agree with what you're saying. Yeah, I'm a big person when it comes to, I'm a big proponent of the whole glass half full, glass half empty, like you're saying. I definitely always try to look at the glass half full, because I also was a person that actually used to be a glass half empty person for a while. And I was thinking, especially like just when I was just starting school, a lot of times, when I first started school and I went in, I was like the goody two shoes person of the class, right? I was that person that nobody wanted to be friends with, because oh, he's the goody two shoes, he's smart, he's the person who does more math facts than everybody else. And on top of that, not gonna lie, I was also like the snitch of the class. So you can see why nobody liked me for like a lot of years, right?
Yo.
So yeah, I was that person for a while. So I think like second grade, third grade especially, like nobody really wanted to, talk to me or anything. Especially because everybody was always talking about what they were doing, online games and stuff, and I'm just like I don't play any of these games. All I do is I go home, I do my homework, and then I watch educational TV shows, read, and go to bed. And I'm like, you all over here, y'all just doing your thing, playing your games. I can't relate, people watching Adult Swim. I'm like, Adult Swim, what is that? And I have no idea what's going on. And so for a while I thought, and I couldn't find anybody who had the similar like interest to me for a while. So I was a really big loner come second grade, third grade, fourth grade, fifth grade. Now I actually did make a friend, or someone that I thought was a friend, but that's also where I learned a hard lesson about friends, and that's that you got to be careful of who your friends are, because fifth grade I took some bad advice from them, and let's just say things did not end well for me. I had, as many people can probably relate to, the butt whooping of a lifetime, or some people call it spankings, whatever you want to call it. I had one of those, and that put a mind sticker on me to remember to be very careful of who your friends are, because if they give you bad advice and you follow through on it, a lot worse can happen to you than just a good spanking. So after that, I kind of went back to being like, the loner person for a long time, from like end of fifth grade up until like probably like beginning of high school or so. And then all that time I wouldn't say I was like depressed, but I wasn't like at my happiest, I guess, because again, like I said, I was a loner. I wasn't, it was just me, my schoolwork, and then my family and God, and that was about it. I didn't have anybody else that I could really go to school to and just say, oh, hey, how you doing? Except just some classmates. But I mean, I saw them every day. It's not like, I could talk to them, willy-nilly, text them. Well, then again, texting wasn't a big thing. It was more like emailing back and forth. I don't know if you ever had those people where you had to we made like fake emails or like dumb emails on Yahoo at the time, and that's how we communicated.
Yes.
Yeah. Walk down memory lane, huh? So yeah, we had those, but I didn't really have too many people that I could do that with. I had a few that I found a little bit after, but I always kind of come like 6th, 7th grade or so, I had those people, but I still didn't hold them really, really close, because I'm just sitting there the whole time like, I don't know, because I can't remember, I had that mind sticker from like the end of 5th grade, like, oh, I don't know if I can really trust these people all that much. And so I never really like opened myself up. And I'm going to be honest, like I still to today don't open myself up that much to certain people. Like I let you know what I want you to know. Like my filter on what I say is, would I be ashamed if this made it on evening news for the world to see? If I'm not ashamed of whatever it is being on the evening news for people to see, then sure, I'll go ahead and tell you. Sure, I'll crack jokes with you. But when it gets to personal life and things, no. I keep that under wraps. So I think that's a place where I can definitely improve on that, because I just don't want to go back to that. I guess like a self-protection mechanism of not trying to go back to that whole frame of, oh, I don't want to be like alone and everything. But at the same time, I've also learned to be alone. So I don't know. Personally, I'm kind of conflicted when it comes to that. When it comes to, trying to go against like, oh, I'm all alone in this path in life, versus just, oh, but I have all these people around me that I crack jokes with. So it's a very like up and down. But I wouldn't say personally it's like depression or anything, but I definitely do kind of understand where you're coming from. And that you do get those swings, and you do sometimes feel like, man, I wish I could be doing more in life. I wish I could be doing better. So I tend to cover it up just like you. I tend to cover it up by just doing work, keeping myself busy. At work, I'm always, even if I don't enjoy the work that much, I still find myself doing it. Or I might find myself, trying to research something or understand something better, just so that I can keep myself busy and not have to worry about those thoughts. But eventually, as you probably also know too, those thoughts eventually do come back. They do resurface. And eventually we do have to deal with them. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah. It's like you're being productive, but you're not being healthy. Mm-hmm. Because, like, it's the way you have to, like, handle the it's a way you have to handle the way that you see your own perception. Don't let your feelings make the moves. You have to actually look at them like you were looking at a chessboard. Because every single step that you take will affect you in a certain way. How you respond to your feelings and how you respond to the way that you feel is just as important as feeling the actual feeling. So it makes me sad that I have to sacrifice in this lifetime, but that's not the only thing that this life has to offer me. When I was saying being productive and being healthy, I'm not saying one or the other is better than no, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying there is a time and a place for being productive and being healthy.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely agree. And I'm also, I saw this on, was it Instagram or Twitter? One of the two. That when they were talking to someone, it was, oh, not someone, Joey Vontaze. You know, Joey Vontaze, he's an independent music producer. I absolutely love that guy. I absolutely love his music. And just, you know, shameless plug, he was the person who I listened to for like a lot. Like he almost, because you know, at the end of the year, Spotify, they give you that little like who, like your year wrapped up. He was like my number one like listen to artist for like the whole amount of time. So, but shout out to him. He's a really good musician. But yeah, when I was listening to him, he said, let me make sure that I quote him correctly. He said that it's important to stay productive but not busy. There's a difference between productive and busy, because busy, you could just be doing a lot and you might be tired at the end of the day, but at the end of the day, what did you really accomplish? You know, like, did you actually accomplish something to push yourself forward towards your goals, or were you just busy doing stuff to say that you're busy? You know, versus being productive.
It's like you're filling a void inside of your hole, that hole that you have. Like, oh man, I got this big fat hole of problems. Let me stuff it with stuff, and that will fulfill me. Fulfillment is one of the keys to happiness for some human beings. Because, without fulfillment, what's the purpose of doing a thing? What's the value of a thing? Whatever you give it, right? Mm-hmm. Or whatever the world gives it. So, you have this thing and you have a value for it, but why is that valuable to you? Because you have a certain sense of fulfillment that it makes you feel. The fulfillment can be just as deceptive as the feelings and the perception, but I agree. It's not always about how much work you do, but if it's pushing you closer to what you want to do or what you want to be. Because you could do all these millions of things and end up, feeling terrible. Like you didn't solve any of your problems you thought you were going to solve by filling that hole and filling that void. And that's the common misconception that I see with a lot of people. I don't mean to judge. I'm not judging anyone. I'm just making observations as to the things that affect everyday human beings trying to make it through. When they face the problems, they run to different types of solutions for the problem. If, since the topic is depression and anxiety, some people feel like, I want to be happy. The only way to beat my depression is to, be happy, right? Mm-hmm. No, that happiness is just the opposite of sadness. That's not the key to solving your sadness. That's another thing I notice people do. They get addicted to the things that make them feel good, to drown out all the things that make them feel terrible. And they feel like, it's working. And is it really working? Because, you still get upset here and there. You're still dealing with the same issues. It's like they don't disappear. It's a temporary high. Mm-hmm. It's very temporary.
I know that definitely reminds me of one of the past episodes that I made where it talked about, where I entitled it, Why Motivation is Stupid. And in there, I was pretty much explaining that, motivation by itself, if you just motivate yourself and then that's it, that's the stupid part. But what you actually need to do is motivate yourself with your purpose or your goal in mind, and then take action on that motivation. And then that way, you can actually accomplish things. Because if you just sit around and just sit all day and get motivated, like it's equivalent to you like sitting at an all you can eat buffet and just stuffing yourself and then saying, okay, now I need to go work out, and then just sitting there. Or rather better yet, just saying you need to work out and then researching all these things that you need to do to work out. You're researching, where to start, how to do the proper push up and the pull up. Or if you're more of a weightlifter person, how to do the proper bench press and leg press and Arnold presses and all these kind of things. And you're researching. You're a wealth of wonderful knowledge. You are the Wikipedia of working out. And yet here you are, but you're still like 500 pounds sitting on a couch, but you can answer any fitness question, but you're not actually acting on what you know or things that you have actually learned. You know what I mean?
Yeah, your brain's busy looking up all them facts, but it's like, how are you implementing, applying what you learned to yourself? Because you could spitball and tell anybody the knowledge that you have, but if what good is all that knowledge if you don't use it for yourself? And I'm not saying be selfish. Sometimes you have to be selfish for yourself. So that you can grow for yourself. I'm not saying be a complete jerk to people when it comes to what you know. I'm saying let them see that let them see you as an example rather than telling them, about whatever advice you have to give, whatever knowledge you have, be an example. I feel like we impact people more when we tell them about things that we've been through and then show them how we use the knowledge that we have to get through it. It hits different rather than saying, oh, well, here's how you do it. Or you could be like one of those people, if I have a depressed friend, a suicidal friend, anyone who's dealing with just anger, hatred, I could come to them and say, I don't know how your situation is 100%. I have not walked a day in your shoes. But I felt the same emotion. I felt the same feeling before. And here's what I did to get through it. And, it might help them. It might not help them. But you're being an example for them. Showing them that, hey, man, look, wake up. Like, literally, like, wake up. It's not over. And, I know when people get depressed and anxiety hits, it feels like the end of the world. And there goes that word again, feels. It's a deceiver. It deceives. Your perception and how you see your feelings consistently play a role. And I don't want any of the listeners to negate their feelings. I don't want you guys thinking that you can't trust your feelings. Trust your feelings, but don't believe in your feelings. There's a difference. Like, trusting your feelings means recognizing that they're there. Having faith in their existence. Believing in your feelings involves taking action. Acting on them. You see this feeling and it's dwelling inside of your heart. And then now you believe in it to the point where it affects your actions. It affects the way you think. You see a pretty girl on the street with a smoking body, bro. I'm talking like wine
11
glass.
out of 10 looking like dime
Bro,
piece.
looking like a snack mixed with a buffet. And your heart start racing, or you might look over and say, dang, man, I want her number. And you might feel some type of way. But, that's the human emotion. And I've seen a lot of people do stupid things for love. Stupid things. Crazy stupid things.
Man, tell me about it. That I've seen my share of things as well, man. It's just like, because love is it's a beautiful thing in the right area, but if it's not in the right place, it is absolutely dangerous. It is very dangerous. Like when people say like, oh, people are love blind, I fully understand what that means to be love blind. Like certain things that you would always say when you're not in love with anybody, like, oh, if somebody did XYZ, I could never be with them. But if you're really, really interested in this other person, then, and apparently you just start seeing these things and people are like, oh, I thought you said if they do XYZ, you're not going to be with them. And you're just like, oh, but they can change, like I'll bring them to church and this, that, and the other. And, oh, that's just what they do sometimes. Because again, you're love blind and people don't realize that's what happens. And in the same way, like, I feel like that also kind of relates back to to an issue like with anxiety, like being like, I'm sorry, not anxiety, relating back to like depression. Because, when you're, let me try to relate these like this. So when you're love blind, right? You kind of like ignore what you said you were going to do, or what you're not going to get yourself into when you fall in love with somebody. And then when you're depressed, at the same time, well, not at the same time, when you're depressed, then you also kind of just ignore, the good things of life, the good things that you said you're going to focus on, then you ignore those. You kind of see what I'm getting at?
Yeah, it's like when, me and Sean talked about this before. It's like when it's raining outside. The sun's still shining. You know that. You have to know that. The earth, we live off that. The sun is still shining, but all you see is clouds, rain. It's blocking your vision. The real vision, not the fake, temporary one. Well, I won't say that it's fake, but I will say that the way that you're interpreting your depression can sometimes be fake, because we have this mentality of inevitability, where it's just, this is the way that it is, and there's no way out. Even if you know that there's a way out, even when you've been educated on the good side of reality, of the positivity in reality, it's a killer, man. It's insane. We all know this. We all know there's good and evil. We all know there's light and dark. But that's just the power that being depressed has over people. It takes them to a certain place where they're not thinking the way that they do, even if they have the knowledge within their hearts to solve the problem.
Yeah, man, and that just kind of, and just thinking about the whole topic of like depression and everything, and like what you were talking about with the whole clouds and everything, that just reminded me of the whole glass half full, glass half empty thing again. And that, whatever you focus on is the feelings and emotions that manifest after that is just completely based on what you're focused on right then and there at that moment. So what I'm thinking of right now is that in order to help people like fix their depression, I feel like sometimes it just has to be a mindset shift towards what is my purpose, or what was I put here to do? Because clearly, what I'm focusing on now is not progressing me towards what God put me on this earth to do. You know what I mean? Like, it's whatever, like, let's say you're going through, and like you say, you're just keeping yourself busy, not productive, but just busy, trying to drown out some of the noise of things that you're hearing. Sometimes you just have to stop, and if you go to a therapist, they'll probably tell you the same thing, that you just sometimes have to stop, you have to pause, and you actually have to deal with these emotions sometimes, because sometimes the only way to actually deal with these emotions is to just face them head on. Like, sometimes there are some ways you can detour around. There are some ways that you can take paths around. There are some times that you can bury it. But just like dirt under the rug, it is still there. And if you don't deal with them head on, they're just going to keep rearing their ugly head. You know what I mean?
It's the perfect personal growth tip, because it's like once a problem hits, what's the first thing we want to do? Get rid of it. We want to get rid of it fast. We want to just have it out of our lives. Somebody told me one time that slowing down is a good way to speed up. It's okay to process the sadness, or to process whatever is hurting you, because you won't heal in one night. And I know I wish some of us were Superman and we were strong enough to just, heal from everything that hurts us like that. But it's a process that we have to recognize and accept. It goes back to what you were saying and what I was hitting on with sacrifices. This is a sacrifice. You will have to take out time, take out energy to heal yourself. Because if you move too fast, again, another personal growth tip, if you move too fast, you're going to crash. And now you have more problems than you need. The solution can sometimes lead to a problem. Now I'm not trying to say everyone second guess themselves and second guess every decision that they make. What I'm saying is be mindful of what you're choosing as a solution for your problem. No matter what gets you depressed, if you were hurt when you were younger by someone you thought was close to you, if you went through a traumatic experience or something like that, whatever's going through your head, take that demon and find ways to heal, but don't rush the process, because that's not how it works. That's like shooting somebody with a bullet through their chest or through their arm and then putting a band-aid over it. It's like, I feel sometimes as humans we downplay our problems as a coping mechanism to deal with life. Like, oh man, I'm already a person who has so many problems in life, and now I got this fat hole in my arm, this giant problem, this giant that's just devouring me right now. So let me minimize it. Let me act like I don't care about it. Let me make it smaller and throw it somewhere in the back of my head so that it doesn't take up space. And then it goes back to what we were talking about, that hole, that void. Some people just throw the problem in the hole and, put more stuff in the hole on top of the problem to fill the hole in their hearts. Like, okay, the problem's gone, now let me just put some more happy stuff, some more interesting things that make me feel good on top of it. And that'll keep the problem at bay for a while, but I promise you, it's gonna show up eventually. Because problems aren't meant to be thrown away, they're meant to be solved. And you can't throw a problem away by just pushing it away. And it takes time. I keep reiterating this and emphasizing this because that's the most important component. Time. If we move too fast, you won't have the time to learn your mistakes or to learn a solution that best benefits your life.
Absolutely. That I fully agree with that, because time is one of the most valuable, if not the most valuable resource we have, because once it's gone, it's gone. Money, yes, you can get it, you probably can use it, and you'll probably get it again. You have $100, you spend $50, you can just work at work for a couple hours, and then bam, you got $50 back. But time, you can go to work those couple hours, you're not getting those 2 hours back. So the less time that you spend, as you say, putting those things into the hole, because again, holes in your heart are not black holes. Okay, they don't hold everything forever. Okay, they have a limit. I know in the Bible when they talked about, like, don't be around like an angry person, because then you'll eventually learn their ways. Same way with just anything else. If you just keep absorbing those things, just keep keeping it down, keep just suppressing it, eventually, just like a volcano, it will erupt. Just give it the right stimulus, give it the right amount of pressure, and just like that, it just erupts. Boom, there you go. And people are like, whoa, I didn't know that came out of you. I didn't know you had this problem. I didn't know you had that problem. So you just have to face these problems head on. You know what I mean? So in order to
agreed.
Yeah. So you just have to, you gotta face them. That's pretty much why I keep driving them. You just gotta face that problem head on. And on top of that too, if you're probably wondering, well, how do I face my problems head on? I can't give you an answer to that straightforwardly, because I don't know what your problem is. You just have to, what I usually do, whatever problem it is, you just gotta pray. That's just what I do at times. As a Christian, I just pray and just be like, there's a problem here. I try to refocus on what is my purpose and what is this problem trying to teach me. Because if God gave me this problem, I know two things are for certain. One, he gave this to me because this isn't going to kill me. So that means number two, It's here to make me stronger and improve me in some area of my life I either did or did not know that I personally needed improvement. So after you align your purpose with what God wants you to do, and then you take the time, there's time again, take the time to find out what that purpose is, then you can just move right on ahead. So when you get to those ruts, 'cause let's be honest, everybody has those ruts. There's nobody in this entire world that has not had like a depressive rut of any sort.
Yeah.
There's just nobody. Only person who might not is a newborn baby, but they haven't lived long enough. Let them live long enough and they'll eventually have a depressive rut as well. So there is nobody that I know, and I'm pretty sure nobody that you or even the listeners know that like they haven't been through something like that. So for me, what I do is I just find my purpose and I just keep doing whatever I have to do to keep that purpose in the limelight. Because the second you lose that, it's like a ship out at sea. They see a lighthouse. They know they have to get to the lighthouse because that is land. That is away from the storm. The second you lose sight of the lighthouse, then you're lost. And that's when the depression can then start to come in. And so what you have to do is first keep that purpose clear, keep it straight, write it down, put it on your phone, save it as a wallpaper, whatever you have to do, journal it every day, whatever you have to do to keep that purpose clear, do that. Just keep doing that. And then also you have to realize that when you have these certain circumstances that happen to you, that they're happening to you for a reason. They're not happening to you because, oh, God hates you, this is that and the other. No, he's trying to teach you something. It's not the end all be all. He's trying to teach you something to make you better, a better person, maybe a better person in this relationship, but overall just a better person, more like him and more like someone who you would be proud to be.